I don't know if you've ever lived this. You're at a restaurant with someone who earns a great living. Everything is fine until the bill arrives. Then the awkwardness hits. This person asks the waiter to deduct the $4 for a sauce they didn't touch, or pulls out a calculator to split the note to the exact cent, almost calculating who consumed the most heating at the table. We're left speechless, not by the amount, but by the sheer energy spent trying to save mere pennies. I knew an entrepreneur. Let's call him Marc. The guy handled millions. One day after signing a massive contract, he invited me to lunch. Leaving, he parked illegally in front of a bakery. To avoid a €2 parking fee, he got a €35 fine. Instead of laughing it off, he spent the whole afternoon calling City Hall to contest it, losing 3 hours of his time, which is literally worth thousands of euros. That's when I realized, for these people, it's not a question of numbers. It's a question of gut feelings. Dr. Brad Klontz calls these financial scripts. They are beliefs etched into our hard drive from childhood. The extreme saver's brain is stuck in financial vigilance mode. It's an alarm screaming at any sign of spending, as if a total catastrophe were imminent. Often it comes from trauma, parents fighting over bills, or a family bankruptcy that left an invisible scar, the famous never again. The strangest part is that some inherit this anxiety without ever knowing hunger. It's like post-traumatic stress for a war they never fought. The nervous system doesn't care about logic. It just knows spending equals danger. That's why we see people driving 20 miles just to save 5 cents on a gallon of gas. Mathematically, they lose money. Psychologically, they are buying security. There is a calculation that these extreme savers systematically forget: opportunity cost. In economics, it's what you forgo when making a choice. In psychology, it's the price of your serenity. Spending 2 hours comparing prices to save $10 is selling 2 hours of your life for a pittance. It's not management, it's a waste of lifetime. These people think they are gaining money, but they are losing the only resource that can never be replaced: the time and mental energy to be happy. For others, frugality is a form of control in an unpredictable world. If you can't control your boss, your relationships, or the future of the world, you can at least control which brand of aluminum foil you buy. Choosing the cheapest option is taking back power over a tiny piece of reality. That's why we see incoherent behaviors. A guy refuses to pay €10 for delivery, but drops €2,000 on a watch without blinking. The watch validates him. The delivery fee makes him feel robbed. Nobel Prize. Richard Thaler highlighted a fascinating phenomenon: mental accounting. Our brain doesn't treat all money the same way. We have invisible drawers. That's why someone might spend 20 minutes looking for a €2 coupon for laundry detergent, but spend €50 more without thinking when buying a car or a house. For the extreme saver, every small drawer is a war zone. They lose sight of the big picture. They win a €2 battle, but lose the war of their own serenity. If you find yourself more stressed by the price of a coffee than by your annual bank fees, your mental accounting is skewed. There is a middle ground, but it's hard to find. Crossing the line means ending up eating instant noodles in the dark while having a bank account brimming with cash. And the real tragedy is social. By refusing outings or appearing uncomfortable whenever you order a coffee, people eventually stop inviting you. Your savings become your prison, isolation sets in, anxiety climbs, and you grip your wallet even tighter to reassure yourself. It's a vicious circle. In a couple, it's explosive. To the saver, the partner's spending is an aggression. To the other, the partner's pettiness is a stifling form of control. No one is wrong, they just operate on different financial pilot modes. The ultimate irony? The most miserly people often have the means to help, but the idea of giving triggers physical pain. They feel guilty, but the anxiety is stronger. This is perhaps the most fascinating part. It's not always your story. Epigenetic studies suggest that trauma from famine or great poverty can leave marks on the genes of future generations. If your grandparents lived through extreme deprivation, your nervous system might be born with a default survival mode setting. You feel visceral anxiety over spending, not because you're cheap, but because your biology still believes it must hoard every resource to survive the winter of 1940. Please remember that you are not abnormal, it is just your legacy. Saving obsessively is wanting to be safe, but the paradox is violent. By living in extreme restriction, you create an artificial scarcity. You live as if you were poor when you aren't. You sacrifice the present for a future that might never arrive. Your bank account smiles, but your life is suffering. At its core, money is just a symptom. The real currency is the management of your fear. There is a darker reason for refusing to spend. The fear that if everything goes too well, something grave will happen. It's a form of psychological superstition. Staying in deprivation mode is a way to stay on guard. For these people, wealth is a dizzying peak. They prefer to stay in the valley of restriction because that's where they feel safe. Spending is admitting you are no longer in danger, and for a traumatized brain, lowering one's guard is terrifying. There's an invisible danger in extreme frugality, the erosion of memories. The moments that truly define a life, an impromptu trip, a spontaneous gift, and an exceptional dinner, often stem from a form of financial irrationality. If you spend every second filtering your existence through the prism of, is it worth the price? You eliminate the unexpected. You end up with a life that is perfectly managed, but totally flat. In the end, you won't have memories, you'll only have Excel spreadsheets. Money is supposed to fund a rich life, not become the barrier that prevents you from living it. Frugality is socially valued, so we rarely question its darker side. But if this portrait hit home, the click is there. If you enjoy this kind of deep dive into the gears of our brain, subscribe. If this analysis helps you put words on that strange feeling in you or someone around you, leave a like. It's our way of seeing that many of us want to exit survival mode and finally learn to enjoy the fruits of our labor. By the way, let's break the taboo. What is the most absurd saving you've ever seen or done that ultimately cost much more in time, stress, or dignity? I read all your comments because your real anecdotes are often more powerful than any psychological theory. If you love digging beneath the surface to understand why our brain plays tricks on us, subscribe. We don't just skim the surface here. We look for the roots so we're no longer stowaways of our own behaviors. If you want to support this exploration, click the join button. Understanding why we save is good, but understanding why we fail to take action despite our dreams is even more powerful. If you feel stuck between ambition and inertia, I've analyzed that specific profile here. The psychology of people who are lazy but very ambitious. See you there. Take care of yourself and learn to unclench your fists.